If you've been dreaming of owning a waterfront condo or any property that's within an association at all, it's time to listen up. If you make the wrong move, you could end up with a situation like this.
Residents pointing the finger at the ruling association board, raising concerns about elections. The former board president was arrested for theft, and they say their HOA fees nearly quadrupled.
I'm going to share everything you need to know and research before you take the plunge to buy this type of real estate. I guarantee not many people are going to provide you with this type of information, and there are some real estate agents who don't even know this. So watch on. Let's start with the Condo Board. This might seem like an odd starting point, but as you saw from that video clip, it's critical. The board's functionality impacts everything from maintenance of the property to your finances. Here's a top insider tip to understanding the board. Read through their past meeting minutes. Board meeting minutes are a record of decisions and discussions, and in some cases, fights and disagreements. They reveal a lot about the board's dynamics. Are the meetings well organized and productive, or are they filled with conflict and strife and drama like this Florida Association meeting?
A homeowners association meeting at the Mandarin Lakes neighborhood in Naranja Lakes goes off the rails. The Tuesday night meeting was cut short after residents say the cops were called by the HOA.
This information is vital because a well-functioning board usually means a well-managed property. Depending on where you're planning to buy, this information may not be automatically provided as part of the home buying process. So if this isn't given to you early on in the process, make sure to get your hands on it and read it thoroughly. Now, let's dive into the financial aspects. When you live in a condo, you're part of a community, which involves shared finances. Understanding the financials is crucial. You are going to want to review 3 key financial documents. The first is the budget. Compare the budgeted expenses with the actual expenses. This comparison can indicate how accurately the board manages funds and anticipates costs. Large discrepancies could be a warning sign of financial issues. As part of your budget review, you're going to want to look at the revenue that will probably come from assessments or your HOA monthly fee and the interest earned on that money invested as well. And also potentially other sources of income, like if they're coin-operated laundry facilities or a profitable restaurant on site in the community, for example. Next, you'll review the operating expenses such as insurance, utilities, landscaping, and repair and maintenance. You will also want to review the maintenance fee schedule and the reserve study. I'm going to tell you what the reserve study is, but first, the maintenance fee schedule can be called by different names, such as the component summary, and it's generally part of the reserve study. The maintenance fee schedule or the component summary will show when the item was first installed, what the useful life is forecast to be, what the replacement year is forecast to be, how many years are remaining, and how much it will cost to replace that item. I'm going to give you an example in a minute shortly, so don't go anywhere. Reserve studies are professional assessments of the property's physical components, evaluating the condition and estimating future repair or replacement needs and costs. Knowing when the last reserve study was done and what its findings are is crucial. It gives you insight into what financial commitments might be in store for the future, which is something you really want to know if you're considering buying in that association. The lifespan of various components is also important. In a waterfront condo, for example, elements like concrete, decks, and patios are important to look at. These are exposed to the elements, especially water, wet air, saltwater, and elements exposed to saltwater are most likely going to wear faster. Knowing when these were last replaced or when they're due for replacement helps in anticipating upcoming expenses. Here's an example. Let's say you're buying a condo in Hawaii. The asphalt foundation and the footings have been in place since 1980 when the building was built, and they have a useful life of 44 years due to moist weather and wear and tear from the salt air. The replacement year is 2024. This year, there are 44 units in the building, and the total project cost is almost $1.7 million to complete. However, there are also other projects as well that will need to be completed this year in 2024. Now, if you bought this condo in 2021, wouldn't you have wanted to know if the condo association had the funds in their reserves to complete these projects? And if you didn't know, then the association is probably going to do one of 2 things. They're either going to hit you up with a permanently increased monthly or quarterly association fee, as well as the other condo owners as well. So you're going to be out of pocket, maybe substantially more each month, or else they're going to issue an assessment, and you might be liable for having to pay a lump sum, and not for an insignificant amount either. There are a lot of risks with this. For first-time home buyers or property owners who haven't purchased in an association before, how would you know to ask for the reserve study? You wouldn't necessarily know. And if you don't have an experienced and thorough real estate agent advocating for you and requesting this information on your behalf, you could potentially get stuck with a big and unanticipated bill after you already own the condo. Now, what if you don't have the money to pay for the higher association fee or a huge one-time assessment? If you don't pay your association fees or an assessment, the association can foreclose on you and you could lose your home. Reserve funds are essentially a savings account for the condo. They're used for major repairs, planned or unplanned, or emergencies. As I mentioned in my previous example, it is crucial to check the current status of these funds. How much is in there and how does this compare to past years? A growing or stable reserve fund is a good indicator of financial health. Generally, a couple of funding methods are used in these financial documents: percent funded and cash flow. Now, the cash flow method generally requires that the association maintain positive cash balances for a certain period of time, often 30 years, to meet capital expenditures as they come due for replacement or repair. The percent funded method is a different way to understand an association's financial position. In general, associations that are 0 to 29% funded are in a weak financial position. Associations that are 30 to 69% funded are in fair financial position, and 70 to 100% funded are in a strong financial position. And again, the reserve study should cover this information so that you can understand what kind of financial position the association is in. The next thing you need to know is insurance. What kind of insurance does the condo association have and what does it cover? For example, if you're buying in an area where there's extreme weather or hurricanes, does it cover you for hurricanes, or do you have to pay your own hurricane insurance, which is called wind insurance? Another thing to investigate is if you're buying a condo that has a unit above it, what is your deductible if your upstairs neighbor causes damage to your condo, such as, and most commonly, water damage? Someone I know purchased a condo a few years ago. There was a unit above it, and then the condo's insurance policy changed. So previously, the condo owners in the unit below had to pay a $5,000 deductible if the upstairs condo had a water incident where water damaged the condo below. And that policy changed to a $50,000 deductible for an incident like that. But just so you know, there is a kind of insurance where you can buy an insurance policy on your association's deductible so that you don't have to pay the full amount, in this case, $50,000. And that is definitely worth looking into. In this example that I'm talking about, the condo owners decided to upgrade their policy. It was an extra $700 a year roughly, but the unit upstairs was a rental. So for $700 a year extra, they don't have to worry about, for example, some renter getting drunk and falling asleep and overflowing the bathtub, and then the condo owners having to pay a $50,000 deductible before the insurance even kicked in. The amenities in your condo community greatly affect lifestyle and association fees. What facilities are offered? A pool, a gym, a dock, an elevator. How well are these maintained? These amenities are part of your condo fees, so their value and maintenance to you is important. If you're buying into an association with lots of amenity, that can mean lots of fun for you living there, but the more amenity an association has, the more it's going to cost to maintain them and eventually repair or replace them. You also need to know the local real estate market and environmental factors that are unique to waterfront properties. What are the market trends? And are there environmental concerns like flooding or erosion? These factors can affect your living experience and the property's future value. I'm going to give you an example. In Hawaii, on the island of Maui, a beachfront condominium was facing the stark reality of erosion. It's a popular vacation rental spot, and some locals were advocating for the removal of the building to restore public beach access. It's a 6-building, 79-unit association called Kahana Sunset, and it was built in 1971 in front of a small protective cove. Now, at the time of construction, this building, Kahana Sunset Building F, was 15 feet away from the shoreline. In 2014, the building was only 8 feet away from the shoreline. Owners of the units in Building F have not been allowed to return to or rent out their units since March of 2021, when engineers said the foundation was not stable due to the pounding of waves and erosion over time. But they're still having to pay their association fees. Then in 2022, Maui County officials recommended Kahana Sunset accept reality and put this protective shoreline planning to a test by considering demolishing Building F and its seawall. Imagine finally getting your dream condo on the beach only to have to contemplate demolishing it. Another example of the importance of understanding the local environment is the state of Florida enacting the Florida Condominium Act in mid-2022 following the collapse of the Surfside condo building. So now condo buildings have to be inspected every 25 or every 30 years for buildings 3 stories or higher within a certain distance to the ocean, and they have to have a reserve study done. Previously, outside of Miami, it was not required that buildings have a reserve study done every so often. So every building that falls into that category has to have a structural integrity reserve study, and it can only be done by an engineer or an architect. The engineer or architect is going to come in and inspect the structure and the components and the building materials, and the homeowners will have to pay for that reserve study. And if there's an issue that's uncovered through this study, the condo owners will have no choice but to pay the money to put into the reserve fund and allocate to those repairs. And the condo owners that have to shell out the money to do that, some of those owners are on fixed budgets, some of them are older, some of them have been struggling because their insurance has gone up a lot, and some people won't be able to afford to pay. So in many cases, we aren't talking about a small sum of money. And because of these factors, we could potentially see some very affordable seeming waterfront condos coming on the market in the next year or so in Florida. And that is why it is so important to be very aware of the local real estate market environmental factors wherever it is you're looking to buy. It's not just about the beautiful views, but about making a well-informed investment. Make sure to check out another video I made on this topic. Here's where not to buy a waterfront condo.